Hello, today we will discuss how to calculate vacation accruals. First, we'll perform live calculations using the free calculator in our How to Calculate Vacation Accrual article. If you're watching this video on YouTube, you'll find the article linked in the description box below. To start your calculation, you have three fillable boxes. The first one is the number of full-time employee PTO hours per year. The second is the number of full-time employee hours per week, and the third is the number of full-time employee paid holidays per year. So for the first box, you want to calculate the number of full-time employee PTO hours per year. So let's just say you have regular employees that work 40 hours a week and they work 52 weeks out of the year, minus their paid holidays and PTO time. So in order to calculate their PTO, you'll need to know how many PTO hours they have per year. So let's say that you want to give your employees 10 PTO days. So you would take that number 10 and multiply that by the number of hours they work per day, which would in this case would be 8. So that would be 80 hours of PTO hours per year for your employee. So you put 80 in this box. In the second box, you want to determine the number of full-time employee hours that are worked per week. This is for individual employees. So if you have a regular employee that works 40 hours a week, you would want to put 40 in this box. Now, you may have some employees that still are eligible for PTO but don't work quite as many as 40 hours. In that case, you would change this number to however many hours they work, and this will calculate your PTO accrual correctly based on the number of hours that they work per week. And I'll give you that example in a few minutes. So the next box is the number of full-time employee paid holidays per year. So for this one, you want to determine how many holidays that you are giving your employees. So this is going to be the number of holidays and not the hours of the holidays. So for instance, if you have 10 scheduled paid holidays per year, then you would just put 10 in this box. If you have 12, you'd put 12, and so on. And then all you have to do is click the calculate button. Now what this will do is give you your rates per hour, per day, per week, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, and monthly. This is the rate that their PTO is accrued, and this is per employee. So you wouldn't do every employee at one time and calculate all their numbers. You want to do individual employees. So for somebody that works 40 hours a week and has 10 days of paid holidays per year, their accrual rate of PTO per hour is 0.04 hours for every hour worked. And then per day, it would be 0.32 hours per day. Per week, if your accrual is done on a weekly basis, it would be 1.54 hours per week worked. Bi-weekly, 3.08 hours per pay period or bi-weekly. Semi-monthly would be 3.33 hours per pay period or 2 times a month. And then monthly would be 6.67 hours per month that they would accrue of PTO. So let's do a new calculation. You can just click New Calculation and go right back to the top. So we're going to say that the full-time PTO hours are still going to be per year. You're still going to have 10 days. So that would still be 80 hours. But let's just say that your employees only work 32 hours per week instead of 40. So in this box, you would put 32. And then let's say you have 5 paid holidays. So that's going to take into account this way. It won't calculate the PTO earned on the days that they're already getting paid to be off work. So you just hit calculate and then it comes up with your hours for you again. So per hour would be 0.05, per day 0.39, per week 1.54, bi-weekly 3.08, semi-monthly 3.33, and then monthly 6.67. So this is based on the number of PTO hours that you're providing. In this case, we use 10 days, which is equivalent to 80 hours. The number of full-time employee hours that are worked per week. So however many hours your employees work per week. Typically, that would be 80 hours for a full-time schedule. That would be 40 hours for a full-time schedule. and then however many employee paid holidays that you have per year. And each time you want to do a new calculation for a new person, if it's not the same information, just say new calculation, and you can go back to the top and put in the information that you need. So this video is also going to cover the following topics: deciding how much PTO to provide employees annually, figuring out your standard hours worked per week, determining total annual hours worked per week, and identifying your business's start date for accruals and using the correct accrual rate per cycle. So I'm Jennifer Hartman, HR staff writer and human resources expert for Fit Small Business, and now we're going to dive right in. The first step in calculating PTO accrual is to determine how many days or hours per year you want to grant your employees. The average number of PTO days granted depends on longevity with the company, and it typically ranges anywhere from 13 to 26 days annually. And to keep our math simple, we'll use an example of 2 weeks or 10 days of PTO per year. This is the same example we used in the live demonstration. To calculate PTO, this number will be converted to hours by multiplying the number of days provided by the standard hours worked per day. So the math for this is 2 weeks equals 10 days times 8 hours a day. So that would be 80 hours. And you would input that in the first field. Step 2 is to figure out your standard hours per week. While a 40-hour work week is pretty common, not every company has employees who work 40 hours per week. Some companies consider employees full-time and grant them PTO and vacation when they work as few as 25 hours per week. If you use our calculator, you can input your business's actual work week hours to get a more accurate accrual rate before you process your payroll. Step 3 is to determine the total annual work hours available. You have to determine how many weeks per year your business operates so that you can calculate how many work hours per year employees are eligible to accrue PTO annually. This hours per year number is used as the denominator when calculating your PTO accrual rate. The standard available work hours per year used by human resources experts is 2,080. That's equivalent to the number of weeks per year, 52, multiply the number of average hours the employee works each week, which is typically 40 hours a week. The calculator in our article has this amount automatically set at 52 weeks per year. In this example, your employee would accrue 0.038 hours of PTO per hour worked. If your business provides paid holiday time off, you may want to subtract those days from the total so as not to allow employees to accrue paid time off on days they are already getting paid for as a holiday. For example, if you give employees 15 paid holidays a year and consider each day to be worth 8 hours, you want to subtract those hours from the total work hours available each year. In this example, it will result in 0.04 hours of PTO earned per hour worked. Step 4 is to identify your business's start date for accruals. Our calculator assumes a 365-day year. However, not all businesses start the year at the same point in time. While most small businesses use a calendar year, some use a fiscal year, whereas others use the employee's hire date. While you don't need this information for our basic calculator, you do need it if you want to determine how much PTO or vacation time an employee has earned or taken during a year. Step 5 is to use the correct accrual rate per cycle. To ensure you calculate employee PTO balances correctly, you have to apply the right accrual rate to the actual payroll processing cycle you use to pay employees. In this example, we used a weekly pay cycle and a standard 5-day, 40-hour work week. That accrual rate would be 1.54 hours of PTO earned or accrued for each week worked. This is the best rate to use when calculating PTO accruals for employees whose work hours vary. For instance, they may work 25 hours this week, 40 hours the next, and 32 hours the following week. It doesn't matter what their actual work weeks are each week, as the accrual rate will accurately determine how much PTO they've earned that pay period. Calculating accruals for a biweekly pay cycle is just as easy as it is for a weekly pay cycle. It's just the pay period lasts 2 weeks instead of 1. Using a biweekly accrual rate makes the most sense when your employees are salaried and get paid the same each pay period. A regular 40-hour-a-week employee would earn 3.08 hours of PTO every 2 weeks. Semi-monthly pay is provided 2 times a month, meaning that you'll have 24 pay periods a year. That makes your PTO accrual just as easy, but it may not be accurate if, for example, an employee takes off unpaid leave, reduces to a part-time schedule, or is out for an extended period, such as for parental leave. A regular 40-hour-a-week employee would earn 3.33 hours of PTO twice per month. A monthly payroll cycle isn't allowed in all states and is commonly reserved for upper-level management. However, if you manage your accruals monthly, the calculation is pretty basic. A regular 40-hour-a-week employee would earn 6.67 hours of PTO every month. Thank you for watching. Be sure to read our article on how to calculate vacation accrual linked in the description box below and use the calculator provided to calculate your own accruals.